very pleasant good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you may be located and whatever time zone you're at. This is your hour, and I'm Rita Gadi. Well, over the past 15, 16, 17 months, we have always been discussing the pandemic, the COVID-19, its variants. Now we have the Delta, we have surges, we have, all kinds of quarantines actually. But we take a break for a while, although we have to remind everyone again and again and again, wear your masks, your shields, your washing of the hands, and get yourself vaccinated as soon as possible. If not, get for the first and second doses, so that at least saves you and saves the people that you're moving around with, and that's very important. Well, we've also come up with a lot of discussions, at least in snippets, about the forthcoming elections next year. This is a big event, actually. It's a national election, so you will have the office of the president, the vice president, the Senate, the House of Representatives, where you have something like 300 of them actually. Then you have governors of the 81 provinces, 1,448 towns and cities, not the barangays. So that's as many as the posts that will be available now for voting. In addition to that, you also have in the provinces, the provincial governors, the members of their provincial board, and then you have the municipalities, the members of their municipal board. And then you also have the cities and the members of their city boards. So you could imagine how many people are going to be voted upon per ballot. And of course, as you would be reading through this, you would see how it goes. Oh, there he is. Bono Adaza, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Very well. Okay. Next time, Bono, come in around 5 minutes, 10 minutes before, so I don't get nervous, and our people, our technical staff, don't get worried about where you are.
My son has been telling me I'm late because I should be here earlier for the technical.
Yes. We send it both to your phone and to your email. But I'm glad you're back, because this is very important. Bono, from the time that we've been discussing so many things, we've been increasing as far as our viewership and listeners are concerned. So you can imagine the whole world listens to you. Excuse me. Well, Bono, I was making my introduction about a very important event. Oh, first, please welcome Bono Adaza, former member of the parliament during the time of President Marcos. He was also governor of Misamis. And then, of course, he has held several other important positions, the most important of which is he's one of the most, the most brilliant thinkers we have this side of our planet anyway.
Yes, thank you.
So Bono, we are now entering that period where a lot of faces, handsome, ugly, pretty, not so pretty faces are coming out with advertisements for all kinds of products, for soap, etc., just so as they could be on air. That is because we're going to elect people from all of these positions that are available come May 2022. But let me just make an introduction before we get into the real core of this, because the title of our program, Bono, is HUBRIS. HUBRIS, the Greek word which means that when a person gets into a position of power, he levitates and believes that he is already a demigod. There is a certain degree of pride, false pride, arrogance, and what else is there? Presumption, and of course, insolence. So these are the qualities that accompany hubris, and this happens every time people get into a certain position of power. That is the corrupting element of power. Not everybody gets corrupted by it, but there is something in the atmosphere surrounding the seat of power that makes the occasional occupant levitate. I mean occasional because it's not a permanent thing. And then this was told to me by people who are actually working in Malacanang, who have also occupied positions of power they're at. And there is one person, I must give credit to him. He was a former executive secretary during the time of President Marcos. I will mention his name much later. But he claimed that he too would have floated above ground were it not for his wife being the lodestone around his neck. So that is what prevented him from levitating. And so we could see how a lot of people who enter into a position of power, Bono, what happens is they levitate. Soon after they have raised their hands to take their oath of office, they are sauntering up to dizzying heights. And that is how it is. The very smell of power intoxicates them, and eventually it anesthetizes them, and that's it. The people that they would have wanted to take care of are all forgotten kasi nakaupo na elect na. That is the corrupting element in power. So Bono, you've seen this. The worst and the worst of times and the best of times. And you've seen a lot of these politicians going through it. And we're seeing them now parading themselves again. Yes.
Right. As a matter of fact, there's a book written by a mutual friend.
Oh.
General Galileo Quintanar.
Oh, yes.
The title of his book is Hubris.
Yes, we wrote. Yes, I know that book. We contributed to that also, but that's precisely an analysis of how, again, what we're discussing, Bono. When people get into a position of power, ay talagang lumilipad na. Ang tingin nila Diyos na sila talaga, demigods, as we would describe.
They get drunk with power. That's the problem. You know. There's a line from Lord Acton. Power tends to corrupt. And absolute power corrupts absolutely.
That's a forever thing, you know. If it's absolute, that's the ultimate, actually. But that is where we have to do something as far as choices are concerned, because you know, I was listing down a lot of trying to list down. When you look at people who are running for public office, you will have those that will be re-electionists. Karamihan talaga, pag nakatikim na, uulitin pa ng second term, third, hanggang maabot yung ultimate number of years ng kanilang position. Then they will aspire for higher positions. Or maybe they're now are members of the cabinet, or they're appointed as a position of consequence, maybe a director or maybe the head of a government organization. Basta nakatikim na ng a certain degree of power, there is again that the feeling that they could serve more, or they could achieve more if they get into a higher position. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with ambition, but there's something wrong when the ambition takes the better of you.
Power should be accompanied with humility. That's the problem with people. The moment they get into power, they are beyond the reach of their friends because they have become more powerful. They think that they are gods or demigods for that matter. You know, it reminds me of a story of Robert Bobby Kennedy. When he was before the death of John Kennedy, his brother,
president, yeah.
He felt that he was immortal, that the world was in the palm of his hand. But when Kennedy got assassinated, he was brought down to earth. And when he was asked, while he was running for the presidency of the United States, he was asked by some media people in the United States, Senator Kennedy, what are your plans for tomorrow? She plans for tomorrow. Only God knows plans for tomorrow. Because to begin with, will we be there tomorrow? You know, it is a humbling feeling that all of us are mortals. There are no immortals among us. The immortality lies in books, in poems, in stories, in songs, in music. There is where immortality lies. But for us, individuals, we are all mortals, except that we become immortals because of our writings, or songs, your poetry, my poetry, or books, or music, or songs. These are what becomes immortal. That's why it's a humbling experience. I keep on telling myself that story of Bobby Kennedy because it's humbling. When I was also a student, I felt the world was in the palm of my hand. When I graduated from the university, I had the same feeling that the world is at the palm of my hand. But when I ran for the Senate and we got defeated because of the computers of Corazon Aquino, that was a humbling experience for me.
You see, there has to be an intervening episode that brings down people from that certain degree of arrogance and of power, so
That's
that
correct.
brings them. But not everybody experiences that episode. So to many people who enter into public office, they feel that this could go on forever. As you said, there is the absolutism of their clinging on to power. If not they themselves, then the wife, the mistress, the son, the daughter, the nephew, the niece, so that the name continues until they get back again in power. And sometimes, I don't know if this is the political system that we have, that we actually have a repetition of this. Professor Carlos from the University of the Philippines has said this so many times. She's written about this in Facebook, and she's saying, are we going to be condemned to this situation that we see the same faces, ugly or pretty or whatever they look like? And nobody asks the question of whether they have any concern at all. In fact, she only mentioned quite a few of the concerns, like climate change, for instance, the economy, what's going to happen with this pandemic, education, and then of course, agrarian, our agriculture, food production, some basic questions. In fact, I have a long list here of many things that involve concerns, but all of this remain as platitudes when people stand in the platform or they appear in television or they have these infomercials. Ay nako, aahunin natin ang mga mahihirap, bibigyan ko ng bahay lahat ng tao. It is repetitive already it's exhausting actually. It's nauseating even if you use adjectives. But
that's why for me,
what is
Rita,
it?
2022 should be a benchmark year. There are so many people desiring to run for president. They don't even have a vision of what they will do if they get to be president. They don't have a blueprint. Nothing. To begin with, they should be reminded by one of the best secretaries of state of the United States of America, Henry Kissinger. Yeah, he said, if a man gets to be president, but he does not know what to do on the first day of office, he will never learn till the end of his term. And it's correct. It's correct. There are so many people who get to be president and they never learn. They never learn. So it's important for them, before they launch their candidacy for the presidency of the Republic, maybe to read a book. To read a book, what is it to be president of a country? Because to me, from my point of view, based on Kissinger's statement, a person who gets to be president should know what to do with the Department of Justice. Should know what to do with justice. He should know what to do with education. He should know what to do with labor. He should know what to do with agriculture. He should know what to do with natural resources. He should know what to do with foreign affairs. He should know what to do with monetary policy. I mean, the nitty-gritty of governance. The president should know all these things from the first day of office. Because if he is doing only an OGT, he gets to be president and gets OGT in the process, he will never learn till the end of his term. Maybe one or two, but it's not enough.
He will not even be trained enough, for that matter. I mean, you know, even if we will be there
Precisely.
for the next 60, but this is already the office of the presidency. We can even go further down. For instance, when you are running even for a board position,
Yeah,
a municipal or city board or provincial board, or whether you're running for a district of about, well, they say that a district is equivalent to about 150 to 200,000 registered voters. Your population could be bigger than that, but you have at least good thinking people who know how to vote and will be voting, and that's about 150 to 200,000. So that's all you will think of when you want to have that sense of responsibility. But as you said, it's a long list actually. All the things that you mentioned, Bono. But there is one thing that you cited, which very seldom is taken into consideration: to read. You know,
right.
sa mga interview ng mga kandidato, ito, maybe I want to make a shout out on this. All of those who are sitting as anchors, reporters, interviewers, yes, that could be the first thing that you should ask. What was the latest book that you read? Then from
Right.
there, you can have an inkling as to the kind of mind that person has. What are your favorite, who are your favorite authors? What kind
Right.
of books do you read? What is the book beside you on your night table that every once in a while you go back to? Yun, that is indicative. And that's a good point that you mentioned, Bono. To read, not just to read about governance. You could read fiction. You could read about war and peace. You could read about, you could read anything. The lives of other people in the books that you read, the kind of conflicts that they get into, the emotional and the passion that they have. Maybe this could be books on revolution. It could be, as I said, it could even be fiction or poetry. Or you have one of the most beautiful lines coming from Goethe, from Rainer Maria Rilke, Pablo Neruda. My goodness, how he bled in the civil war that he witnessed and all of this. Even that could be indicative of the person who would want to run for a public office, because then you would know the contents of his mind other than what he sees in the newspaper, what he reads, what he, you know, what his advisors will whisper into his ears. It's what he himself from his eyes and his mind that is digesting words to get into his system so that he knows what it is. Maganda yung sinabi mo, Bono, to read. To read,
You know,
yes.
Rita, there are two things that always remind me when I run for public office or make decisions. Yeah, stanza from Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. No? Lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime, and departing leave behind us footprints in the sands of time.
Yeah.
Footprints which perhaps another, seeing our life so remain, if forlorn and shipwrecked brother shall make heart take heart again.
Take heart again. You
Right.
see, this is Bono Adaza. You are listening to him. He is quoting lines from memory. My goodness. This was from high school days, college days that he still
Right,
remembers to this day. He's a politician. He has been governor. He sat in parliament. He was a legislator. Why does he remember these lines? Because they guide him. So you can
Correct.
imagine how important it is for the people that you are now looking at. Kasi ngayon, Bono, wala na masyadong mga rally-rally. Bawal na yung mga ano tawag nito, yung mass gathering. So mag-a-appear na lang sila sa infomercials or sa, ngayon marami nang lumalabas. Yung iba, marunong na eh. Nag-a-advertise sila ng sabon, nag-a-advertise sila ng something that you buy on a daily basis. But look deeper into that. Kaya yan ang importante.
Rita, no? Another stanza, but from another poet, no? Ralph Waldo Emerson. I remember that very well from high school because when I went around, I heard even Salonga, Senator Salonga and Vice President Palais quoting it in their speeches. Not gold, but only man can make a people great and strong. Men who for truth and honor's sake stand fast and suffer long. Brave men who work while others sleep could dare while others fly, they make a nation's pillars deep and lift them to the sky.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
You see how beautiful those lines are? How a high school student like Bono Adaza during his time remembered this, and how senators like Senator Salonga and several others, Claro and Recto, began with lines also from the great masters, from poetry, from Homer, even from Odysseus, the 40 years of traveling and the travails that Odysseus went through, that famous epic of his, the Odyssey. There already you have all of these lines. These are symbolical or metaphorical. He had battles with the Furies. It's exactly what's happening today. We battle with the Furies around us. This pandemic is one Fury that we battle with. So you could see that in the literature that we read, that is where you get the sourcing of what is in your mind. And if it remains there, like Bono Adaza, he has retained it. You can imagine how this will guide our politicians, if only they would read. Gandang tanong yan. Well, of course, you have other candidates who have memorized passages of the Bible.
Yes, I know.
Which
I
in
know.
a way, huh?
There are some senators.
Yes.
And I know to
Yeah.
I know to keep in reciting lines from the Bible.
But
I know them very well. But you know, Rita, when we were campaigning on the regional basis in 1978 with Ruben Canoy and then Pimentel. No, not then. It was here in Manila with Ruben Canoy. And I always tell Ruben, you know, Ruben, don't just be a recto. You should be in this classical line. When Cicero spoke, people listened. When Demosthenes spoke, people marched. It's not enough for people to listen. It's necessary for people to march. And indeed, we won overwhelmingly in our region.
Yes. You know, maybe we should recommend this. We should recommend this to the politicians. Enough of your reading of the National Economic Development Authority reports. Enough of all the statistics that you may have. You would be saying something that the percentage of the people that are poor, so and so, the percentage of those who need houses, and so and so. These are all just words. But if you're able to have these lines coming from the master, so to speak, as Bono was saying, then perhaps it would be better for you to internalize this, because that is what will guide your mind to be able to act properly. Bono just mentioned that line from Cicero, for instance. Well, in so many ways, Bono, marami kasi na tayong mababasa na pwede natin gamitin sa pang-araw-araw. You know, there are so many,
every day of our lives. And Rita, no, not just the great masters, but my father is a legendary mayor of our town for about 20 years. And these are lines from him. When wealth is lost, nothing is lost because you can recover your wealth. When health is lost, something is lost. But when character is lost, everything is lost.
That is very important.
Character, yes. Whenever I make decisions, I always remember these lines from my father. I was telling them, now, Idel Amante told me one time when he was telling me that a group businessmen were offering me $100 million just to leave the country. And then when I rejected the offer of Idel, he was asking me, Dudoy, because he calls me Dudoy, we call each other Dudoy. You must really hate money. Dudoy, it's nothing. It's not that. I also love money. And then I recited to him the lines from my father. You know, Idel, I don't like my father to rise from the grave and slap me across the face. Because these are things to live for.
Yeah, the words of your father should be framed and should be distributed to all those who sit in public office, so they would remember that character actually is what is most important. It is not all the doctorates or masteral studies that you have had, all the honors, summa cum laude, and all of this. It is not the wealth that you have, as a matter of fact. It is your character. As they say, character is destiny. It defines exactly where you're going and exactly what your father said. If character is lost, everything is lost indeed. But how many people can even spell character, so that they will even define it for themselves first? Because now they're introducing what is this? Good manners and right conduct, which is character. That is the development of character. Can you imagine having to reintroduce this? We lost it somewhere. And in that gap in time where it was lost, this is now the upsurge of the politicians that we see today. So you can
Rita,
just imagine.
there's a book
Yes,
for grade 7 before, because my sister, who became a teacher, took grade 7. No? And the book is entitled Character and Conduct.
Yeah, character and conduct. Call it that, yes.
Yes, and a lot of people learn from these books. That's why I was proposing that, in the elementary schools, in the first 3 years of, like some countries, the stress subject should be values, love of country, character, other than skills of reading, writing, and arithmetic. These are the ones that should be stressed. And in the books, later up to college, people should be reminded of value systems, of character, love of country, because these are forgotten along the way. I mean, for instance, us in law school, these things are forgotten. Where is love of country? Even in Philippine Military Academy, one of the generals was complaining. There is no stress on love of country. They are involved in the defense of the country, in the security of the country. But there is no specific subject on love of country. Why? It should be,
you were mentioning
from elementary up to the university.
Exactly. That's very important, Bono. With the system of education, in the very early years, as you said, that is where character building should already begin. Before you even go into addition, subtraction, and all of this, that all the academics that are usually taught in the elementary level. I think in Japan, that is what they do. They have this. But prior to all of this, even though it is not written, they already had what they call the Bushido Code, where you had the virtues actually are what is being instilled. This is not just to be a good samurai. No, this is not a warrior thing or a military thing. It has something to do with, can you imagine, benevolence, respect for elders, kindness, compassion, a sense of justice, discipline. It has nothing to do with taking up arms or defending yourself. It has something to do with values. That's the core values. And believe it or not, to this day, the Japanese still follow the Bushido Code. It was unwritten for the longest time until some people thought of writing it down. But that was that is why the samurai was considered as one of the noblest of all the warriors at a certain time, not because of their skill in the martial arts or in swordsmanship and all of this, but because they had the skill of character. That's most important.
There is harakiri in Japan. Harakiri, because when they lose their character, their sense of values,
honor.
That's about to end.
Exactly.
One of the greatest writers in Japan is Yuki Mishima. I've read virtually all his books.
Yes.
I've read virtually all his books. Spring Snow.
Well, we have
Golden Pavilion and Confession of a Mask. Virtually all his books.
Yuki Mishima, very good writer.
Character.
And a lot of other very good writers. But going back to what should we make our politicians read? There is one book by Robert Fulghum. Everything I learned in kindergarten.
Right. I've read that book too.
It's a beautiful book which I think our politicians should memorize. So simple. Clean up the mess that you created. Return what you borrowed. Do not get what is not yours. Drink your milk at the proper time. Hold hands and look to your left and to your right when you're crossing the street. Smile. You know, these are very simple things which
Right.
you learn, which you know nga sabi, you learned in kindergarten, and there are stories regarding this. I think our politicians should learn this. Simple lang. Do not take what is not yours. It is such a simple line for
That's
a
also in the
3-year
Ten Commandments.
for a
Thou
3-year-old.
shalt not steal.
Yes, so that is the fundamentals, the foundations. Then I would recommend this book by Jean Lecourt, a French writer. The title of the book is The Demigods. There you have the analysis of how you get into power and what you do with that power. These are stories of a number of African, South African, South American leaders who have attained power, how they were able to maintain it, and how they lost it. So this is a study of power in the sense that our politicians should learn. You know, there was one South African leader who felt that he was already a demigod, and he was screaming on the mic because there was a drought that was pestering his country, and he said, "It will rain tomorrow. It will rain." You know, something to that effect. Anyway, as you said, if Cicero spoke, they marched. So that is how it goes. You know, whenever you hear all of these platitudes being spewed out by our politicians, sometimes we go to questions. May alam ba ito tungkol sa proper governance, etc. and all. But we really have to go back, as you said, to the fundamentals. Ano ba ang nasa loob? What is between his ears? What is there between his ears? Yun talaga ang pinakahalaga. Anong meron doon? And that content is something that he does not learn in school. Yun ang sinasabi mo, Bono, character formation.
You know, another book that he should be reading, Rita, should be John F. Kennedy's Profiles in Courage.
Profiles in Courage, yes. Also very important.
There
is also a book of, you know, the world's greatest speeches that changed, the great speeches that changed the world. Sa dinami-dami ng mga politiko natin na mahilig magkwento sa entablado or in front of television or deliver speeches, etc. They should read this, because here you have all of this. You could extract some of those lines and think of how you could even recreate those lines for yourself. Like Martin Luther King, for instance, I had a dream. You know, he had a dream that his children could go to school in the same manner that the white children could go to school, that they would sit on the same desk. I had a dream that we could be able to eat in the restaurant together with the white people. So ang dami mo ilalagay doon, yung panaginip, your dream. And that is what you were saying, Bono. A vision and an ideology. Alam ba kaya nila yung ibig sabihin ng ideology? I mean, like, meron bang basihan yung kanilang tinitindigan? Is there an ideology on where they stand? Do they even know that is important if you want to be a leader?
That's true. You know, so many people in this country think that all they can do in order to get to power is to crack jokes, no? To sing songs on stage, to dance. You know, I remember very well when I was campaigning with Vice President Laurel. He was telling me, you know, look at them. Candidate for president dancing on stage. Candidate for the Senate singing. I said, I don't care if I don't get to be president. I don't care if I don't get to be senator. If you people will ask me to dance on stage and sing on stage. Dancing is for dancers. Singing is for singers. We can sing in parties, but not on stage. We should be telling people what to do. What are the things that they should have in mind before they cast their votes, and why? You know, Ruben Cano, while I was campaigning for governor of Misamis Oriental, was telling me, you know, Bon, you should drink with the people. Why? Why should I drink with the people? There is no campaign here to be a drunkard. I'm campaigning to be governor of this province. The governor of the province should be the #1 teacher. We should tell them what is best for everybody in this province. Please don't tell me to sing and dance and drink. If you want to do that, do it yourself, but I'm not going to do it. Not even if I don't get to be governor of this province. And I got to be governor with a vote of more than 20,000.
Without singing and dancing.
Without singing, dancing, and drinking.
What is really of some relevance now, Bono? Because time and time again, the campaign of politicians are repetitive. Pare-pareho lang. In other words, as you said, kung meron kasamang mga artista, and even if they didn't dance, may kasama silang mga mananayaw, that is how it goes. But now, precisely because we go into this digital world of Zoom and virtual presences, so you don't really have an audience in front of you, not unless you are willing to talk to 50 people who are seated 1 kilometer apart from the other. You know, you will be spending for the stage, for the lights, for about, let's say, even at best, 100 people that will be separated by 3 meters apart. I mean, sayang yung ano. So karamihan ngayon, Bono, yun sa ano na lang, virtual. So they will speak, well, I don't know how much time they will be allowed by the COMELEC now. The COMELEC should be issuing certain rules and regulations regarding the use of social networking regarding this. Kasi marami kang magagawa. You could blog, you could create all sorts of, you could be in your house and you could be telling stories there. And who is to control how much time? But what is it that they have to tell the people, or that is of some relevance to the people? So you have all of this formula, I mean, not formulas, meron na yung mga templates, what they talk about farming, about agriculture, about education, etc. But what exactly is it that the people would want to hear from them now at this particular stage? Sabi mo nga, this is a benchmark election that we're going to have. Why is it a benchmark? First, kasi iba ang method. The methodology would be different. Second, dumaan tayo talaga, we're passing through severe difficulty, severe economic depression, severe health concerns. Now, is that going to change our mindset, our thinking, so that the people that will be taking care of our lives after May 2022 would be the right people? See, yun ang importante, Bono eh. Iba na. That's why I'm picking it from your word benchmark. It's going to be a different thing altogether.
Correct. As a matter of fact, I didn't like to participate anymore in electoral politics, but I'm beginning to change my mind for 2022. Depending, of course, on certain considerations. But if all the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle will be in place, the country will hear from me. They'll hear from me,
yes,
and my ideas. You know?
Yes.
And
that
the things
why, yeah,
that should change. You know? For instance, I'm interested in lean and clean government. Why are we spending so much money for a Congress with 320 members when we can reduce the number to 39? Why? Why are we spending for 15 justices of the Supreme Court when we can only have a Supreme Court with 5 members? Why? These are questions that we should be raising. These are questions we should raise. Why federal system? They have no answers. They just say, let's have federal system. Why? Why are we going to have federal system? What are the things that are going to be done better with the federal system? What are the things that are going to be done better with the parliamentary system? What are the things that are going to be done better with the revision of the Constitution? These are things that should be answered in 2022.
But Bono, the sad part about all of this that you're saying is, in the beginning of this administration, this present administration, there was already the platform for the changes that ought to be made. In other words, it was inspiring to hear. For instance, I took down notes of his first President Rodrigo Roa Duterte's inaugural speech. You know, ang dami niyang sinabi not madami, but important. One is to have a new constitution, not just a revision, Bono, not just an amendment, a new one that is responsive to the times now, not reactionary, one that is not verbose and dami-daming words, one that is when you can memorize.
That's correct. You know,
One
there
that is on a language.
are three basic things for a good constitution.
Yeah.
Brief in form, broad in scope, and clear in meaning.
Clear
The problem
in meaning.
with this constitution, it's
Yes. That, yeah.
it's very lengthy. It's not brief in form. Broad in scope. It's almost like a code. It's not, that's not broad in scope. And clear in meaning, by God. There is even something wrong in the way English is in the Constitution.
Exactly. The language.
Very
the
simple
grammar,
example.
the language, yes, the use of the language and grammar. The syntaxes are all, I don't know where they're going. Anyway, they really should have a good grammarian. But in the beginning of this administration, that was the idea, that was the idea of change, a new constitution. Second, he started hitting on the oligarchic rule over our public services and public utilities. He even he damned them, in fact. And even exposed the kind of anomalous charging that they have, that the oligarchs do with our water, with our electricity, with our telecommunications, transport, and several other public services. And he said, we are going to change this. And then of course, he spoke about the war against illegal drugs, which after 6 months, he found that it was really stupendous to begin with and may last even beyond his term. And that's exactly what's happening. And then corruption, when even a whiff of corruption was something that he felt he should really run after. Now it's not just a mere choking with the corrupt smoke that's coming out. So sayang kasi yung 6 years, and he began with these statements, and there is only about less than 11 months to even try to complete any one of them. Now we are looking forward to the next administration. But if there should be a continuity, then we should start from where President Duterte already said the different methods that we can change. He had it right from the beginning. He said it right from the beginning. He had the right intents. If you're speaking of a vision, that's exactly what he said in summary. A decent and comfortable life for every Filipino. Yun ang sinabi niya. But how can it be done? Yun na nga. We have a new constitution. We will get rid of corruption as best as we could. Illegal drugs. And then the oligarchic control. Yung mga yumayaman sa pawis natin. It is not just government that is actually it's government actually that ought to handle public services. So in the next 2022, then the next administration should really look back, because Rodrigo Roa Duterte began with already the good intents. Time and circumstance and so many intervening episodes came in, pero hindi natuloy, but he had the right mindset then. Sana yun ay hindi itutuloy kasi hindi nga naumpisahan. Umpisahan doon sa kanyang mga sinabi.
Ay sinabi ni Rita, something went wrong on the way to the forum, as the classicists would say.
Yes.
Or in the what is immortalized in the book of John Steinbeck.
Something, yeah, nothing before. Also, as they would say, in many of the writings of Shakespeare, also, in the incidents that they had in the Senate, and of course, if you read, a lot of this Greek classic, the plays of Aristophanes, Euripides, and all of this, frogs. That play is something which is so descriptive of our political situation now. Something went wrong on the way to the forum. somebody fell from the steps of the agora, so that what ought to be defended in the marketplace could no longer be defended because the guy who was going to defend it nadapa. So that's exactly, that you should, the people should, our leaders, our politicians should read that play, Frogs. It's a parody on the political situation of many things that have gone awry, that went wrong, that had a lot of intervening events. Ang malungkot dito, maganda yung intensyon talaga sa umpisa. Ganyan din yung mga politiko nagsasalita, Bono. Madidinig mo sila, ang ganda ng kanilang mga ginagamit na mga salita. Beautiful language, beautifully delivered. But that's all it is. Just words. They're just half human, half words. They're not public servants. That's
Rita,
all they
even the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Precisely. Not even. It is precisely the road to hell that's paved with good intentions.
Rita, we should require all presidents, all people who are running for president, to give us a list of their probable members of the cabinet. Why? Because it depends on whether they can get the best and the brightest,
Yes,
like Kennedy.
Kailangan meron na
the
silang,
best and the brightest.
it should already
Same
be in their
case
mind. Yeah.
With Franklin
Very good
Delano
idea.
Roosevelt. For an example, for instance, 6 months to eliminate the drug problem. It can be eliminated in 6 months with presidential non-intervention and full authority. I know of someone who was telling me that he can eliminate, considering that there's a book in the hands of the president, who are these people, eliminate graft and corruption to the minimum in 6 months' time. And if he cannot do it, he'll commit harakiri in national television. That's the kind of focus and determination we should have in this country. Graft and corruption, longer period. Probably the timeline should be 2 years, because you have to uproot everything. And it can be done. It can be done. In the words of Napoleon Bonaparte, the word impossible appears only in the dictionary.
In the dictionary.
Of fools. And in my own language is impossible is only in the mind. It can be done. In the 1930s, there was a scientist by the name of Werner von Braun from Germany. He said that you can send a rocket to the moon. After Hitler got defeated, he was conscripted by the United States of America. In the 1960s, he did not only send a rocket to the moon, he sent a rocket with a man to the moon. So you see, nothing is impossible.
Can you imagine? Yeah, can you imagine Walt Disney saying that if you can think it, you can make it?
Yes. Yeah, think it and you can make it. You're right.
You can think it, you can make it. That's exactly how a lot of these big Hollywood movies are actually. So again, we're back to that period where I think we will be having longer discussions regarding this. The kind of people that we will be voting for, ay nako, para naman napakahirap. Oo, mahirap talaga. You were saying something about like, what is this? Illegal drugs, etc. Well, there was one time that I interviewed a mayor who was saying, sa aking city, alamin lang kung sino yung hepe sa who is the head in the police or in the military. You cut the head, mawawala na lahat yan sa ilalim, because those little ones are trafficking and buying and selling drugs only follow and are able to be scot-free because yung mga bosses nila are the ones actually who are tolerating this or earning from it. So as you said, Bonnie, you've said this many times. How do you do this with the snake? You chop off the head.
Of course.
Yeah, that's the way it goes with graft and corruption. I'm
sorry, as I was telling
drugs also.
Rita, as I was telling Normishwari, with the same prison in Santa Rosa, I was telling him, Nor, I'm sorry, but you used to teach at UP and you graduated from UP. but you don't even know how to kill a snake. What's the matter with you? Don't insult me. According to Nor, what is the snake? What is the head of the snake in this country? Where is it? Is it in Mindanao or in Manila? It's in Manila. Then why are you cutting the tail? That is Mindanao. You should be doing it in Manila. That's where you should do it. You know, Nor was telling me, Bono, don't tell that to anyone. You are a very dangerous man. I just laughed. How could I be dangerous? He is the revolutionary, and I'm only the thinker.
The thinker is more dangerous than the revolutionary. All revolutions begin from, from those quiet places. Anyway, Bono, we have a long way to go, but we have only just a few minutes left in our program. But before we go, we have to look at those who first joined us in. So I'd like to look at our chat box, Bono, just so as we can acknowledge those who are saying good afternoon to us. Well, hello, Katipunan, watching from New York. Ma'am Rita, you're so sharp and energetic to appreciate John Kennedy. Ito naman kay Bono Adaza, John Kennedy, the plan to put into pieces this cabal that you've never believed it is truly existing. The people are the manipulators in the world. So yun, but whatever it is that Sylvia, I, and Diane are trying to explain, well, they're picking up from what you said, Bono, on John Kennedy. Oh, you're having New York, there's a typhoon, I understand, that part of the continent, that part of the country. So take care. From Vilma V. Alindog, hello po, magandang hapon po sa inyo. Thank you very much. Rizal Buendia, what's new? Yes, what's new? Exactly. That's what we're trying to find out, if there is anything new. Yes, just to answer you, Rizal Buendia, Bono was mentioning the benchmark of this coming election. That's something new that we have to really get into. Wilfredo Opeñano, good afternoon, ma'am, and Sir Bono, mabuhay po. Dantes Maravillases, anyway, magandang gabi na lang. Delphine Estigoy Sr., magandang hapon o gabi sa inyong lahat dito sa KDP channel. At sa lahat ng viewers, God bless. Bert Gadi, good afternoon po. This is Sir Gadi with the double D. The double D Gadis are from Pampanga. The 1D Gadi, that's my name, are from Cotabato, Kidapawan. Lito Polintan, most politicians take everything they can. Impunity is the key word. Oh my God, how sad, no? Lito Polintan. Susan Rosales, good evening, Madam Rita, and long time no see, Sir Adaza. Alodia Season Fruto, good afternoon po. Bederio Candido Joselito, magandang araw po, Ma'am Rita. Sir Bono, mabuhay po kayo. We're watching from Riyadh. Assalamualaikum. Barakatullahi wa barakatuh.
Mabuhay rin kayo. God bless.
Olive Picar, good afternoon, Ma'am Rita and Sir Bono. Your program is highly educational. I'm learning. Ma'am Rita is fit for a cabinet position. Oh, my dear, I've been to Malacanang already, and that's it, period. And also as CHED or Secretary of the Department of Education. No, I can teach here in this program. Just listen to Bono and I. This is a very good forum for me, and etc. And so many others, so many more, Bono, but we will be answering them again the next time. So Bono, before we close this chapter, which is hubris, just to summarize what hubris is, that according to the Greeks is a position when a person in power feels that he is already a demigod. And that's exactly what we're emphasizing in this program, that you watch out for the people in your community who believe that they're already some kind of a lord and master and has forgotten about you. Yan ang importante dyan. Bono, some parting words before we close our program.
No, I would like to quote a punchline from President Duterte.
Yes.
There is always a time for reckoning. And it's good to remind everybody, especially those who are drunk with power, there is always a time for reckoning.
Exactly. So those are the lines coming from Bono Adaza, quoting President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, as President Rodrigo Roa Duterte has often quoted the passage in the Bible known as the Ecclesiastes. You should read this. A time for weeping and a time for joy, a time for killing and a time for peace, a time for giving and a time for taking back, a time for planting and a time for harvesting. And as Bono said, there will always be a time for reckoning. And I think our time is coming. We have to reckon now with what we are going through at this particular time. With the severity of this pandemic, the pandemic that is the virus, and the pandemic that is political, we have to take action as far as our own lives are concerned. So thank you very much, Bono, for having joined me again.
It's always a pleasure, and God bless.
Yes, thank you so much. And we can have more quotes the next time we meet. And to everyone all over the world and whatever time zone you're at, again, would like to say thank you so much for having joined us. This is Rita Gadi's hour, but actually it is everybody's hour.